Hey,
Hello, hello. Is that Ruben? I can't see you yet. I've lost my Zoom window.
yes. How are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
I've read your notes on the book, Smart Notes.
Good for you. I meant to have a look through them before joining the call, but I didn't get a chance to. I've just skimmed through them.
Mm.
So we've both read the book in about the same period of time, I think.
Yeah.
I looked at your Goodreads stats this morning. What rating did you give it? Or would you give it?
Oh, I didn't rate it, but I would, on 5, I would rate it a 2 or a 3 maybe.
Yeah, I went with 3, and I felt that was a bit. Well, actually, no, there was a lot of good content in it. It just didn't.
Yeah, sure, but it hasn't anything to do with the title.
It didn't deliver what it
No,
said it was going to deliver.
not at all.
I turn off WhatsApp because it's a bit distracting. So this could be just me and you sharing our thoughts, which seem to be very similar. How's your day been?
Oh, hectic.
The day at home today?
No. I had patients to see this morning and it was a bit too much, so I have a headache right now.
Shit.
But I'm off until Sunday.
And is there a chance you'll get called out?
Yeah, that's all. Maybe tomorrow, I'll see. But let's not go there.
Did you get your vaccine?
No, there was a problem. The doctor who was going to administer the vaccine has got COVID.
Shit.
So I can't go. I got a call Wednesday that I could go get my vaccine, but I had to go immediately, and I had to be there within 15 minutes because the vial was already opened and it was about to expire, and I just couldn't make it.
Yeah, I saw your message.
You know, it's crazy. Well, oh well. I'll get it eventually.
Right. So book club 4 p.m. during the week isn't working for me every day. I can't. I just can't commit to it at all.
Yeah.
So I think going forward, we're going to just choose a book for the month and then meet at the end of the month on the last Friday at this time and
great
talk
idea.
about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, people were coming to book club and not reading the book, doing different stuff. So it was really no different to a power hour. And I wasn't reading the book, so it wasn't making me accountable either. Well,
I thought you were I couldn't make it every time, but I thought you were reading the book.
I did for the first week, and then it just, I mean, I had to show up and turn the meeting on, but then I was just cracking on with whatever seemed urgent at the time. So today I've been website, working on the back end, working on the analytics code, moving my old website to a new URL so I could use the same URL for the business website, working out how to use Ghost because I've never used it before.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to move my newsletter onto Ghost since that's one of the features it offers.
Cool.
And I'm intending to get today's newsletter out on the Ghost platform. I did manage to export my Substack subscribers in and then import them into Ghost, of which you are one. So if it works, you'll get my newsletter. If it doesn't work, you won't. And yes, it's been, I think it feels like a day of spinning my wheels because I haven't really produced anything. It's all been back end stuff.
Yeah, but it's necessary to get on with it. You know, you have to do these things just to be able to move forward. Hey, Nicola.
Hi, Nicola.
Not joining in, I'm just here. I haven't read it, so.
Great.
You can hear
Welcome.
all about it from me and Ruben.
Oh yeah.
You don't even have to read it.
Don't read it.
I won't be reading it.
So Ruben and I, neither of us are in the position to be able to explain to you how to take smart notes because we don't know. So the book does not promise.
It would be interesting. I'm really interested in the concept of taking the smart notes. I think it's really powerful.
So tell me, Ruben, how have you downloaded the Zettelkasten Pro app?
Not yet. I'll probably, it's like 20 euros. It's not much, but I'll probably download it in 2 or 3 days. I said, you know, I've got like financial goals, and one of them was not to spend more than a certain amount on my credit card every month. And after PTYA and buying all this camera gear, I was like, no, I have to stick to that goal. So I can't buy any book or anything until the 1st of February.
So you're in a no spend mode.
Yeah. So, but I'll check it out. I think it's helpful, but I'm a bit I don't know. It's software again. And I think the most powerful thing about the note-taking method is to write it by hand. So I'm a bit in between. I don't really know what to do. I'll order a remarkable tablet. I don't know if you ever heard of those.
I saw Edward's video.
Yeah. So he uses that to take notes. So I looked into it and found it really interesting, and it's a business expense, so why not?
Yeah. It's a lot cheaper than an iPad, right?
It's come again?
It's a lot cheaper than an iPad, is it?
Yeah. So I've ordered one on the business, and it was like 600 euros with the pen and the sleeve and everything.
So it's not that much cheaper then.
It's not much cheaper, no.
Yeah, but it's more like paper than it's for one thing only.
Yeah, so it's still cheaper than an iPad if you add the paper-like screen protector to an iPad, it's still cheaper, and apparently, I haven't noticed yet, but apparently the writing detection is much better on the Remarkable tablet than on the iPad.
Okay.
But of course, if you're like an illustrator or you like to draw, or you like to use colors, or you should buy the iPad, because the Remarkable is just black and white.
But does it use e-ink like the Kindle?
Yeah, it's the same thing. But the battery life is the same as the Kindle, so it's like 2 weeks.
Right. Okay.
And that's really interesting. So if I take that tablet with me everywhere I go, I can just take smart notes of, I'll try to make smart notes, and I'll check out if I can implement like the Zettelkasten methods that's described in the book on the Remarkable tablet. And if you take notes by hand, you have to really think about what you're writing down. I found that I have to think more about what I'm writing if I write it by hand than if I type, or if you read an article and you're just clipping like paragraphs on the Kindle. I've got like 107 highlights from the book, but they're not really useful. So I really have to tone them down, and that's why I have to write it out.
Yeah, so it does talk about that. It's kind of a bit meta that you're making notes on a book that's about making notes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did, which was different to how I normally do it, is that I was actually highlighting on the Kindle and then entering my own notes.
Yeah, I read them.
And I think that helped. I mean, I haven't. The thing is, you have to go back and look through them again when you finished, and then collate them. So there's like an extra stage, which is a stage I've never done before,
Mhm.
and I haven't done it yet for this book. I only finished it this morning, so I haven't gone back through my notes, but I will. And I think that it will probably work for me in Rome using the.
Really?
There's Julie. Hi, Julie.
Wow, that's nice.
Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Well, I use Readwise, so
Yeah.
I synchronize the highlights I make on my Kindle are synchronized automatically to Notion, and every day I get an email with like 8 or 10 highlights from all the books I've been reading over the past few weeks, and I found that to be really helpful because sometimes I've got like 8 highlights and there's like one that's really interesting or applies to my day or applies to how I'm feeling, and then I go back to the notes in Notion and I read up on them and I try to rewrite them in my own words, and that's really helpful. Not that I'll be able to produce an article or a book from it, but it's still nice to go through them one step at a time. It's also something Tiago Forte talks about in his Second Brain videos. I don't know if you've ever heard of Second Brain.
Yeah, and I've watched quite a bit of Tiago Forte's content. In fact,
Yeah.
it was probably through that I found Rome to start with.
Yeah.
And he's got an excellent article about. Oh no, it's Nat Eliasson I'm thinking of. Nat Eliasson has a really good article, which is the cheater sheet, the link that Esther posted on our Notion page. It's a summary of this book. But he uses Rome, and I took his Rome course before PTYA, and he goes through how he uses Rome to write his articles and to do his research.
Yeah.
And he's a power user, so he's using a lot of features in Rome that I haven't yet, and I've forgotten. And he's using Mac, so none of the shortcuts are different.
Oh yeah.
That's a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But
like Rome research it's much more like creating a web of notes, no?
it's like
You
a
can
wiki.
link. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But
But it's
something.
not free, that's the thing. And
Yeah.
I got the student discount for a year and bought the year, so I'm going to keep using it and then see how I feel at the end of the year. But it does an annoying thing where every paragraph starts with a bullet point.
Yeah. I've noticed that on Thomas Frank. He has a video on Rome research, and it's all bullet points.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying. I know you can turn it off, but I don't know how. How about you, Julie? Have you finished the book? Or are you just here to listen? No.
No, I haven't finished the book, but I've started to use the method, and I'm trying to do a physical Zettelkasten.
Oh, really?
Okay, index cards.
Wow. Where did you
so far
find
I only
the?
have flitting notes. Sorry, go ahead.
Where did you find your info? Oh shit! I got a call. Sorry.
That's okay.
So you're making notes on index cards, are you, Julie?
Yeah, so far I've only used not index cards, but like post-it.
Oh, okay, that's how Nicola
because
does it.
I'm more like making flitting notes, and I have a box. Oops, sorry. So this is what it looks like, and then I have like my notes inside, and I also have like index cards that fit this, but I haven't used them yet. Sorry for the noise.
Wow. And have you got your own indexing structure that you're going to use?
I'm not sure yet because I don't really understand like how to link the cards so far.
Yeah.
So they say that you have to think in like which contexts, but then so what I'm thinking is that I might actually do like physical cards, but I might do the linking on an app, like scan them and then like yeah,
Okay.
create like a tagging system.
Yeah, sounds interesting. So I don't know if I've shared this before, but the thing that this system makes me think of is my Lightroom library and the tagging system that Lightroom uses. And I find it extremely helpful, but I'm still not sure how I'm going to implement this as a writing system. So at the moment, let me show you the book I've got. I'm reading an actual paper book right now.
Real AA.
And it's
The
all
real AA, sorry.
it's basically, it says behind the myth of 12-step recovery. And it's basically saying that Alcoholics Anonymous is dangerous, it's not good. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that this kind of stuff was out there. So I've got more books about the same topic, and I want to go through them all and make notes. This was why I wanted to read this book in the first place about Smart Notes, because my idea is to take notes, comprehensive notes, like I'm a student again, and then use them to write articles and blog posts and possibly even a book. So I need a system that's going to tie all of this information together from disparate sources and make it easy for me to collate everything and then come up with my own structure. And one of the things I liked about in Smart Notes was how it talked about the fear of the blank page. And if you are doing the Zettelkasten method, you need never have a blank page. Whenever you sit down, you've always got a place to start. And all you're doing is moving things around. And I find it fascinating, but without having implemented it, I'm not sure how it's going to work for me or even whether it will work for me. I'm sure it will, but I've just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think everybody, even of the three of us who've all read this book, we are all going to implement it in completely different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the most fascinating things about it. And in some ways, Ruben and I are complaining that the book doesn't teach you how to take smart notes. It just teaches you what they are. But that might actually be one of the book's strengths, because it's like when you sign up for a Notion template that somebody else has made, and then you're like, well, my life doesn't fit in this. That's the struggles I've been having with August Bradley's templates in Notion. And it's taken me a long time to change it to fit my own systems. And I think that the fact that this Smart Notes book doesn't give you the system, it just explains it. And it's kind of empowering in a way. It gives you the information you need to go out and then find the apps that you need, or the stationery, or the drawers, or it could be anything.
Yeah, but that's I don't. Who was it that used Notion to do the Smart Notes thing? There was someone in PTYA who's applying it in Notion, and I got the vibe that it's not working in Notion at all, because you can't really link. Like in the book, he says that he puts every note behind the first one, and then he can like change the coding, like number 1A, number 1A1. Like on paper, I think that's really easy to do. You get like a shoebox and put all the cards in it, and that's a bit why I want to try to implement it on the Remarkable tablet, because I think I can use it like a notebook and just sort through it.
See, this is where my understanding of it breaks down. I have no idea how I'm going to come up with a numbering system.
Lad, stop now. Do you think you are overcomplicating it a little bit?
Of course we are. That's what we do.
Like, you're not going to follow it.
Our job.
You literally just need to pick themes and drop the post-it under a theme. And if you need the post-it under 3 themes, you take a photograph of it on your phone and you print it out however many times you need it and glue it down under the theme.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's like the idea in Rome, that you can use like I'm going to open up my Rome and share it with you all.
Like you can do it in Notion, you just copy and paste it into multiple places. It doesn't need the backlink, it doesn't need to do anything fancy. Just simplify.
So the original source of the file is where it is, and you're just creating links to it in different places.
In Rome?
No, in Notion.
Oh, I don't even create a link. I literally copy and paste. I don't do that whole linking shit. If I need the one thing in 3 different places and I know I'm never going to change it. So if it's a quote, I'm never going to change a quote. So I just copy, paste, copy, paste.
The problem I've
built my
been
system
having
over 30 years, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to try to do something different because I'm trying to do it digitally.
The problem I've been having, like I've got my YouTube home base with information in it, with the scripts and the research, and then I have like a the coal mines page with all the information. And then I have another page on Notion with links. So anytime I come across a link on the internet, I put it in there. And I've got like 3, 4, 5, 6 different places where I keep information on different topics. And it's not really.
Yeah, you can't have more than one place where you keep your
Yeah.
Right. So can you see my screen with my
Yes.
Right. So these are the notes that this is the Readwise page that gets created automatically, and it's got these highlights.
Sorry, got another call.
So it allows you to create these links, which if you shift click, it opens it in the sidebar. And if I ever come across this phrase again, then this will have its own page. And is that all of well, maybe chapter 2's got more stuff in it.
But how often do you go back to those pages?
Well, it means that if I come across this group of the Sons of Temperance in another book, and I create the link again, that means that whenever I go to this page, I will see a link to all the different pages that this page is referenced on.
Yeah,
so
I get the concept. I'm just asking, how often do you actually go back to it? Like, how often do you actually utilize it?
Sorry guys, I got an emergency. Gotta go. Bye-bye.
See you, Ruben. Yeah, well, at the moment I haven't. I'm reading the book.
Also, yeah, you're still not finished the book.
No, I'm barely a third of the way through it, but it's a new system, so I don't have any sort of shoebox full of notes yet. But this is how I'm taking notes, based around the idea of that I want to write my book about. And then, I don't know, Natty Lyson does it really well. He explains how it all works. I'm really not understanding it that well yet. Names as well. So you get a guy's name. So anytime that name gets mentioned, you make it into a page. And all you have to do is just, so if you type a thing, you open up the double quotes, and you do that, and then you've got a page. So it's really fast and simple. And you can make them into hashtags as well. Like that. And then you've got another page.
Okay.
So that's what I like about it, is that it's so fast and there's no folder system to have to worry about. It doesn't matter where these things are stored. And
so say you want to search under a theme, how will you do that?
You just, hang on, it's in the way. You go up to the thing. You search, so I've started typing alcohol, and these are all the pages I've created that I could jump to. So if I go to Alcoholics Anonymous, it's just got, oh no, there's a different book as well. So that book references it, and this other book references Alcoholics Anonymous. If I just type alcohol.
How did you guys deal with making literature notes and then transferring them to the Zettelkasten style thing? Because I found that hard, like knowing what to make a literature note about and then transferring it across.
Yeah, I don't.
I kind of, when I'm reading, I don't do it digitally, Louis. I do it on post-it notes, and I'll know what, if you know what themes you're looking for in your literature. So I'll have a color post-it note for each theme, and
Nice.
I keep those post-it notes, like I'll break my sticky pads down into like really thin ones, and I just keep them inside the front cover of the book on the flyleaf. And then I'll write my note and stick it on the page of the book. And then when I have the book read, I'll pull all my post-it notes and just stick them on A4 pages.
Nice.
And if something purports to multiple themes, then I'll just photograph it, print it, stick it on a different page, and just kind of scribble the new color over it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a pain then when you have to like type things out again, but I prefer to read an actual book anyway, so I wouldn't be digitally collecting it.
Yeah.
And I find for me it's just easier to identify the themes. So like if I'm looking at a theme of like betrayal or family issues or whatever, I'll just give it a color, and I'll highlight in that color or write notes in that color. And it's kind of the way I've always done it up through school, but now I'm not reading as much, so I'm kind of like, I wonder, will this work for me instead? So that's how it's kind of like, how do you track a theme?
I used to, when I was younger, I used to kind of make questions out of the entire book, but it's not very efficient, and I'm trying to find capturing just the gist of each chapter or whatever.
So have you heard of the para system, Louis?
No, what is it?
I think it's Tiago Forte who came up with it. The para method. Yeah, it's Tiago Forte. Projects, areas, resources,
watched some of his
archives.
videos already.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of. It's progressive summarization I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's Tiago Forte as well.
Nice.
I will drop a link. So it's about the idea of reading a book, making highlights, taking notes, and then when you've done that, you go back again and go through your own notes and highlights and summarize them. And you keep going until you get to the end where you've just got a small list of ideas, but they all trigger something in your brain, and they give you something that's reusable as well. So it's like, I mean, he gives the example of, imagine you're going through a town on a bus, and then you can say to somebody, well, I've been through that, I've been to that town, and they'll ask you about it, and you won't know anything about it.
Mm.
And it's the difference is if you live in the town for a few months and you get to know it, then you're in a position to be able to talk about the town. And so the idea of reading, like especially with audiobooks, for me, if I'm listening to an audiobook, which I tend to do at 2x, and I get to the end of the book and someone asks me to explain the book, I'm like, oh Christ, I don't know.
Yeah. One thing I've been thinking about doing is making small slideshow presentations, like not with graphics and everything, but like that's a good way maybe of trying to just get the bullet points down and then
Definitely, yeah.
Roadmap. But I'm interested in how other people are doing this.
I'm going to put this link in the chat. So that's on progressive summarization.
Cheers. I really like that analogy of the bus.
Yeah, I heard him talk about that on a podcast just this week, which he was on with David Perel, the guy that does the Rite of Passage course. and I shared it. Did I share it? No, I shared it in Slack. Let me just go and find it. I think you should have got it, Nicola. It was in the unfair advantage Slack. Yeah. It's about building cohort-based courses, but there's a lot more to the podcast episode than that. So don't let the title put you off. That's where I got the bus analogy. And Tiago talks about it in there. And so this is it's on my mind because I want to be able to use the books I'm reading right now as material upon which to base my own book, possibly, at least articles and blog posts. So I need a good way of taking notes, and I need to be able to remember what notes I have taken, where they are, what tags they might have, and, well, that's it really. So I'm using Roam for that. I'm basically making tags out of any of the phrases in the books that I think might be something I would search for, or might be something that I'll find in another book. But one of the things that stood out to me, and I just tried to find it there, I couldn't find it in Smart Notes, but there was an analogy between the archivist and the creator, it might have been.
It could have been from one of Ali's videos. He talks about something like different personality types from note-taking, and he calls one person a gardener and one person a...
Okay, that sounds very similar.
There's like a few tweets about it. I've seen this on a thread, something about architects, archivists, and gardeners also.
Yeah, sounds.
Let me see. Oh, it comes up. Bloody hell! I can search for archivist in Rome, and it comes up. Fantastic. It says the way people choose their keywords shows clearly if they think like an archivist or a writer. Do they wonder where to store a note or how to retrieve it? The archivist asks, which keyword is the most fitting? A writer asks, in which circumstances will I want to stumble upon this note, even if I forget about it? It is a crucial difference. So it turns out that I've been thinking like an archivist, where I should be thinking like a writer. And he gives an example of a note that's got something to do with finance, but the concept that it's talking about is something that relates to something completely different. I can't remember exactly what the example was, but so if I tag this to do with something like personal finance, then it would only ever resurface in those circumstances. But if I tagged it as something like maybe fear, right? Imagine if you're fearful of investing in the stock market. So it does relate to personal finance, and that's the subject of the article. But he's found another idea in that article that might relate to something else, like a human emotion. So he's tagged it with the word fear. And then it might come up again when he's doing an article about human emotions. So I talked to Edward about this on one of the book club calls. And the thing that I struggle with there is the fact that it seems like you kind of have to know your future self. Because without knowing what you might want it for in the future, how can you predict, how can you tag it with something that isn't the actual subject of the item itself? In other words, how do you not think like an archivist?
Well, in Zettelkasten, it would link to other notes that have related thoughts, and then that web would reveal itself to you when you poke the right area, like Minesweeper.
So if the word fear comes up in the article, you could just put it into double quotes or make it into a hashtag within the body of the text. Yeah, that could work. So then there's no thinking involved. You're just picking words and making them into hashtags.
Yes, maybe you can also relate them to projects. So you might be reading a book because you're interested into doing something. So maybe you can also tag your project.
But you need to have the project first.
In Obsidian, when you make notes, if you can link something which doesn't exist yet, and then when that note exists, linking will already be in place for you.
Okay. So that's kind of how Roam works, but it basically creates an empty page. And then if you ever link
the difference is that you have to click it to make the empty page in Obsidian. But yeah, the concept's the same.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's very interesting.
And I watched a demonstration of someone using Obsidian where they started talking about like the talked about 2 note apps, and then he made a reference to the red pill or blue pill for note taking, and then embedded in that was the matrix, and then
What?
yeah, and then so the first note was about this is better, so it was called something like a good note or something, and it's better than Nevernote, which links to Nevernote, and then in the note for Nevernote there was a reference to the pill analogy, which then talked about the matrix, and then he zoomed out, and then there was an entire body of notes about this entire thing, and drew a connection between the matrix and his initial note. But it demonstrates the point of the software and the technique.
So this is Obsidian you're talking about?
Yeah, but I think it's just a demonstration of Zettelkasten, and it works because you can see it in the software very easily. Like it shows you your notes as a constellation of stars. If you go to Graph View.
Okay, yeah, Roam has a graph view as well.
Yeah, Obsidian looks like a little galaxy. It's really intimidating. Really intimidating.
But then I guess this would solve your problem of not of working out where to archive stuff and like how to retrieve it in the future, because software does it for you. You want to talk about, I don't know, habitual behavior. You have a note on that, and then you have all the connections, and then you can just rip out and reorganize what you've already written in the past with reference.
So are you using Obsidian, Louis?
I'm trying to. That's why I'm here.
I mentioned it to Ruben and he was like, nope.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but the thing I'm struggling with is I feel like I'm being a bit too precious about what I add to the Zettelkasten. And so a lot of the books that I'm reading, I'm having trouble from going from like what should be a literature note to what actually belongs in that ongoing discussion box. Yeah, so I'm trying to find ways of passing what I'm reading.
Just on the books that you're reading for research cams, would you not just dump all of that into like a document rather than trying to build an entire system for it, like, or not even like one document, but like into a folder and just drop Google Docs or something in book by book so that you can, you know, easily reference your page numbers and everything if you want to quote from them, and analyze the theme then at the beginning, like, you know, what's the major theme of the book, what's the underlying theme, how does the plot move the theme forward, like what's the content? Because like you're not reading these for pleasure or for further use that they might be useful in the future. You're reading them for a very specific project purpose.
Yeah.
And if it was me, I wouldn't want to build an entire system for one project.
Well, the system.
I'd want to keep that project together in its entirety rather than absorb it into my regular reading. But that's just how my head works. Like I wouldn't want to waste time that I could be reading or writing on creating a system and learning software when I already know how to dump something into Google Docs and can put it into folders.
I feel like you can get a lot of the benefit without much investment though. So I mean, for example, if all this reading and the stuff that's going to emerge from doing a book, it's probably going to be relevant to another project that you work on and so on.
Yeah.
think that the cost of learning the software is that high in that it's just text. So it's just text, and when you have a linked idea, you just say this is a linked idea.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I kind of am doing what you said, but just having one text file for each book and making all of the notes in that one text file. But within that text file, you can create hyperlinks simply by putting words and phrases inside double quotes.
Mm.
And then when I read the second book and I find those phrases again, they will automatically be they won't automatically be hyperlinked, but if I create the same hyperlinks because the same words jump out at me, or because maybe I remember, oh, I came up with the temperance, whatever it was called, then I've got different pages that are sort of interconnected, but just one text file for each book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So down the bottom here, it's got a list of books that this book I'm reading now references. So already I've got a connection there between this book and other books I want to read. So then I will be able to see that one book referenced another book and how they, maybe which part of the book it references. And it's just a one click away to get to that section of that book. So there's no searching through folders. There's no having to think about a naming system. There's none of that. It's just one simple text file and basically highlighting the sections that jump out at me. So it couldn't really be any simpler.
Okay.
And I'm really enjoying it, I have to say. It's it's a strange thing because Lightroom was the software that actually pushed me into taking pictures. It might sound a bit bizarre, but I loved Lightroom so much. I was like, this makes me want to take pictures.
nice.
And now that I've got a note-taking system that I'm enjoying so much, it makes me excited to read the book and to sit at my desk with my good keyboard in front of me and a cup of tea and just read and then take the notes. And this, I mean, because I'm reading a physical book, then it involves typing. So in some sense, there's another layer that might help me to remember what I'm writing. I don't know. Whereas if I'm just highlighting in Kindle, which is what I'm doing with one of the coaching books I'm reading right now, it means I'm going to have to, when the book is completed, I'll have to go back into my notes and go through my notes. So what I'm doing in the Kindle is I'm highlighting and adding notes to the highlights so that when I look through this page that gets automatically created, I'll remember why I highlighted those notes, and then I'll go through the summarization phase at that point. Because the coaching book I'm reading is something that I want to be applying to my own coaching business. So I do want to be able to learn from the book in such a way that I can actually act on what I've learned in my own way.
Maybe you also, the technique that I'm trying to adopt would resonate with you then, would be making a slideshow, because then capturing the outline of the book and you're also producing talking points that will help you talk about it and reiterate the information. And thirdly, you're transforming the information into a new form, so which will, and interacting with it in that active way is going to be helpful for your own comprehension and understanding, I suppose.
You're absolutely right. And this is a thing I had considered, was that writing a review of the book, making that something that I commit to for all of these books, is first of all going to make me understand the book, but second of all, it's going to give me an article for my blog.
Yes.
Which builds my authority and works with the whole SEO thing and all of that in my niche. So yeah, that's something I'm going to consider and will hopefully implement. So this one here will be my first book review based around my niche of recovery.
Nice. By the way, we did these sessions on how to take smart notes conclude? Did I miss the ending? Because I haven't been present for a while.
Yeah, it kind of dwindled. I was was struggling to keep up with the time. So what we're going to do going forward is we're going to pick a book a month.
Yeah.
And then on the last Friday at this time, we're going to come on a call and all chat about the book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we need to put out a poll somewhere where people can choose the next book for February. So are you on the WhatsApp group for We Only Know What We Know, Louis?
Yeah, I think I am, but I never use it. And my phone is off. I'm not going to be switching it on for a while. But I'm on the Notion document as well.
Right. Well, it'll be going on the Notion page as well, so keep an eye on it. And we will pick a book for February. There's a list up there now of, I just basically took the books out of my own to-read list selfishly and put them on there and asked other people for suggestions. So
yeah, I can see Getting Things Done. I remember bringing that one up.
Yep.
And I've read the motivation bit. Elephant in the Brain is one Ali talks about a lot.
Yeah.
That's on my reading list. Yeah. Sounds good.
You got any suggestions, Julie? Any books you want to read?
So right now, no, nothing comes to mind. But I had like a few questions about like the book we read. So how do you do like if you want to make a summary of something, like make a floating note, but you don't really know how to do it justice? Like I'm not sure like with the system how we should go about it.
I think I try to imagine it like I have to explain the book to somebody who hasn't read it. And if you can't do that, then that means you haven't understood it properly and something's gone wrong somewhere. And I'm not talking about writing a 1,500 word article, just being able to explain the concept in a simple way. In your own words, without having to refer to chunks of text.
Yeah, I completely agree. What I wanted to say is that like if you are reading something but somehow like you don't understand, maybe because it's a new topic, maybe for other reason, but you still want to like mark it as something important and like keep it so that you understand it later. Yeah. I'm not sure like if you like should try to explain it and write it down and then like come back to it a few times. Do you guys have any suggestion about that?
I think maybe then I would highlight it and then I would add a note with whatever my thoughts were on what I found difficult about it.
Okay.
And in my own notes, I suppose I would maybe create some hyperlinks of words that might make it surface again sometime in the future. I think it changes the way I read if I know that I'm having to. Well, first of all, this is an interesting thing in my co-active coaching book. One of the things I've been doing in the Kindle version is looking out for short pieces of text that are tweetable as quotes. And that's really helped with my comprehension and my focus, because sometimes my mind will wander and I'll find that I've read a couple of paragraphs without really taking it in.
Okay.
But if I'm actively looking for short pieces of tweetable text, then it seems to go in a lot better. So it's a bit of a life hack that I've discovered recently.
Because usually like the tweetable content would be like some sentence that summarizes or explains like a point.
And it has to stand on its own as well. So it's quite an interesting way to read. Yeah, we're coming up on an hour, so shall we Shall we wrap this up?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm glad we're doing this book club thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping it will grow some legs and we'll get a few more people showing up. Maybe it was just the wrong book.
I think it was a good book to start with because having this system in place prior to reading other ones is going to be quite a powerful tool.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a selfish thing for me because I really wanted to read that book, and I thought
Yeah.
it would give me some accountability if I started doing it on the Zoom.
I think it was serendipitous because I remember I was reading it by chance and then I joined.
Awesome. Okay, folks. Well, thanks for coming. I will hopefully see you in the next book club.
Take care. Nice to see you.
Bye.
Take
Cheers.
care. Thank
Bye.
you. Have a nice weekend.
And you.
Bye.
Julie.
Thank you. Bye bye.